Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
Actually, I am somebody who takes a ton of pictures on my phone. And like you mentioned, the cameras are so incredible nowadays. I think it just kind of captures a moment in time. And, whether it's a bumblebee sitting on a flower, it will never sit on that particular flower and that particular petal in that particular way ever again. So it's really, truly just a capturing of a single moment. And I also view it as expression. So when I'm taking pictures, it's also my mood that I'm in. So I'm trying to express myself through the picture that I'm taking. So I think it's just a beautiful avenue where you don't actually have to have words, either printed or verbal, to be able to express something so that other people can take a look at it and either feel. In my experience, people are actually saying, wow, and they're feeling what I've taken that exact picture for.
Fantastic. Monika Diane, what's the best way to say it?
Diane. Yeah, Monika Diane.
Okay, Monika with a K. So Monika or Monika?
However you want to say it, Monika.
Okay, so from the rest of the conversation, feel free to assume that you're dealing with a bit of an idiot, but I mean well. I mean very well.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining me on the podcast. My role here is to share your story and share, how your life has configured its way to have you express yourself in the way that you express yourself. Because when I bumped into you, I immediately sensed that energy communicate. Like, it was so clear. And so I thought, oh, you have to be on my podcast.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome. Should we dive into the photos?
Oh, let's do it. Absolutely.
I think it's a selfie. You're looking straight into the camera. You're on a narrow road. It looks like it's probably BC because it's that British Columbia forest, I guess. The sun is high above, so I'd say it's probably, 1 in the afternoon or maybe 11 in the morning. It's warm out because you're not wearing a lot of clothes because it's not exactly cold. So, but I don't know, you're Canadian. It's probably it's probably 10 degrees and you're just like, this is great. So why start the conversation with this photo? What's the story behind this photo?
I know where that photo was taken. It was in Whistler on one of the many gorgeous, beautiful trails up there. And it would have been in the morning because I'm an exercise in the morning kind of person. That photo there really represents me, in essence. It's me out in my element, in nature. It's how I like to start my day, with sort of freeing my mind of any of the social constructs that we're exposed to on a daily basis. So for me, it was just about feeling the freedom of being out in nature, and I like to capture those moments, especially because I know my face can be very indicative of my feelings. I that whole classic saying, I wear my heart on my sleeve, except it's really on my face and in my eyes. So whenever I am feeling really heart-centered and authentic and just in the moment, I like to capture it. And then I use that to do blog posts, and I elaborate a little bit more on perhaps what I was feeling in that moment or particular topics that come up throughout the day.
Okay. Well, because I pay attention to what people say and how they say them, you use phrases that I would associate. So, for example, heart center. That sounds like a very yoga terminology. Do you do yoga?
I actually don't.
Aha! Well done.
Yeah, and I'll preface it by saying that I have done yoga.
Okay.
The last class I was in was probably 5 years ago. Yeah.
So why would you choose that phrase, heart center?
I'm really into the self-development world, not self-help, but self-development. And because of the professions that I've chosen over my entire career path, self-development was essential to be able to grow and to be able to connect with people. And heart-centered is kind of like another way to say authentic. For
Mm-hmm.
me anyway, that's sort of my dual meaning. I like to live my life through my heart as opposed to my through my brain, which is not always easy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The brain often takes over, but that's what it is. It's like just heart centered when you're feeling really in tune with yourself and connected. Your feet are on the ground and you can feel the ground, and it's just like
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing radiating except for what truly your true essence, your being. So
Right.
that's what heart centered is.
I don't, maybe it's because you have been so conscious of that in that just moment where we kind of crossed paths on the top of Grouse. I just immediately it telegraphed it to me. It really you threw it at me, and I got it. I was just like, okay, okay. So you use the phrase social construct in the when you're sort of talking about it, and so how does that figure in? Because in a way, it almost sounds like, okay, before the problems of society and civilization try to box me in, I'm gonna go out for a walk in the woods and just be free. So am I projecting? Like, what is that? What I
Yeah, that's exactly my feeling about it. Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to portray, for sure. And I find that so many of us, we wake up in the morning, the first thing we do is grab the phone, right? Grab the phone, take a look, what have I missed? What's going on? It's this, fear of missing out syndrome. And the reality is that just by picking up the phone, even if people say, I just want to see if somebody texted me, right? Never mind going on social media. It automatically takes away your ability to dictate your day. Because now
hmm,
whatever you've seen, heard, read, dictates your emotions from that moment going forward.
huh, okay,
So I like to leave the phone alone, as I say, and get out into nature. Now, having said that, the phone is the camera. So usually
mm-hmm.
what I do is I shut off all notifications. I turn off the Wi-Fi. I turn off the cellular data so that nothing has come in and can come in. So
Hmm,
that when I do pick up my phone to use it as a camera when I'm out and about capturing a moment, that's purely just that's all it's used for as a camera. But I
hmm,
think it's really important that people allow themselves to actually think and feel before they're told what to think and feel. And it happens every day. I noticed at grocery shopping the other day. It's like, when did music and advertising start in grocery stores? I really
right.
miss the days of just walking around and being able to smell an orange, but now it's like I'm being told what to think while I'm walking through the aisles. So we can never escape it.
Yeah, and that soundtrack in a grocery is not accidental. It's very
No.
deliberate. Interesting. You're a bit of an iconoclast, or no, that's not it. An anarchist. Yes, I'm saying that facetiously. I know. I really like it. Okay, so but okay, so you say your career led you to. Look, I mean, our whole lives led us to this moment, and here we are talking. So your career and your experience led you to now, in a way. But when you use that phrase in terms of your work and your development and going out into the world, like, why don't you talk about that? So who are you, Monica?
Well, I'm still figuring that out.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, and that's good and bad, right? It's like I'm still a 53-year-old, teenager.
Okay.
Who am I? I think I am definitely an evolutionary process. Like literally every 3 months, I learn something new about myself, or I've gone through a new experience that has sort of shifted my perspective of my surroundings and of myself as well. I started off my wellness profession as an aerobics instructor when I was in my early 20s and got into personal training. So I'm still a certified trainer, but I don't actually train anybody, but I like to keep up that, sort of certification knowledge base. But I've gone from being in the wellness, like physical arena. I actually, just to backtrack a bit, in my 20s, I got a diploma in environmental science because the
Oh, okay.
nature of the environment, that was really just totally up my tree. But I didn't literally want to have to go to school for 12 years to get a degree, which, then I could actually get a job doing what I wanted to do. So
Mm-hmm.
I decided to go into the the human aspect of environmental wellness, right? So it
Hmm.
was the physical part at first. And then I got into the nutritional aspect. I got into a few online businesses where I was able to share and promote various nutritional supplements and cleanses and that kind of thing to help people sort of get more in tune with their body and how they maybe would feel better or should feel or want to, or address the health issues. But along with that business, a lot of self-development had to be done in order for me to grow into the person I needed to become to be able to help other people.
Hmm.
And also too, there is such a thing as money mindset, and if you have a poor money mindset, then that's all you're going to attract. So you do really need to change your
Okay.
perspective and your belief around money, excuse me, so that you can attract what you're worthy of.
Okay. Okay.
And then I went through several relationship breakups, some trauma in there, mental abuse for sure. That was another level of growth. I also had breast implants for 27 years, and I had them out 4 years ago now, and I got very sick. So that was a whole other level of growth that I was able to then share with women my experience. And with all of that, of course, came a lot of other health issues because of the poisoning from the implants. So,
Mm.
and I would probably have to say the most significant part of who I am, back to your original question, and I do like to talk, so we might forget what the original question is.
A nice light question in the morning, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And then 4 hours later, that's my answer. Um, so who I am has really evolved from all of these experiences, but the most pivotal thing in my life that really challenged me to think about and grow as to who I am was the removal of the breast implants.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
you've met me, but people who are listening to this and they haven't gone to my blog or Instagram, they won't know that I'm blue-eyed blonde, and I used to be a busty blue-eyed blonde, and now I'm a very small-chested blue-eyed blonde. And for those people, for women, we get it. We know what the difference in that, how society perceives us, how people interact with us, and then most importantly is how I see myself. So
Hmm.
at the age of 49, almost 50, I completely changed my outward appearance, which had a huge impact on how the rest of society looked at me too and
Oh,
treated
really?
me.
Okay. Okay.
It was really interesting, and I wrote a blog on it about going to the gym and how there's sort of a pecking order at the gym, even, how women see each other, and the big, vivacious breasted women, they kind of own the room. And then
Okay.
when you're not one, you're kind of a wallflower. So
Ah, okay.
yeah, it was a really interesting, I guess, experiment that I was able to be a part of,
Hmm.
to see the difference. So
My thing is, I get a bazillion questions. So I have to pick one. First of all, let's start. Let's rewind. Just burn into people's heads. You have a blog. What's the blog title?
the blog is monikadiane.com.
With a K.
Yeah, Diane.
Okay. Diane.com. Yeah, okay. And it will be in the notes, in the show notes or whatever. No, okay, so here's a question for you that maybe is taking the conversation in a different direction, but how much of that pecking order is internally generated?
That's a really good question. So I would say probably 50%, because I'm really analytical when it comes to my feelings and emotions and how I view things. And just a side note too, I am a woman's 50s fulfillment coach. So I work with women that are typically around that age and older, helping them to kind of dive through all these different emotions of what we've gone through in our whole life. So while I was living that, I was really aware of how my feelings were and how I was standing up in that room.
Mm-hmm.
When I had my implants, I was always really aware of the women around me that maybe looked at me in such a way that made me at least think that, they were a little bit maybe insecure, or they felt like, oh, geez, it'd be nice to have a body like that. So I was always very fit. So it just became very aware to me that when I had my implants out, that I didn't get that same look. I didn't get those looks.
Mm,
Obviously from the men, because men are visual, like every human being is, right? So that's an obvious that, I didn't, get the looks when I walked into a room because I didn't have the big attraction, the big boobs, right? But having said that, the women too. So it's a very strange thing. I think women are highly competitive, even more so than men, and it's all based on looks, right? We sort
mm,
of have our little pecking order. It's like the beautiful women are, sort of elevated, or the really fit women, or the big boobs, and then the other ones just kind of follow suit. But I think that also, too, back to your point, is that it's how, let's say, a flat-chested woman shows up, or a woman with a little bit more weight on her shows up. If you own the room, then you're going to own the room,
yeah, yeah.
right? But I believe that our society, and kind of going back to our original sort of when I was saying about all how society affects us when we wake up in the morning, I think that society has made it so that this look and this age, those are the queens and the kings of the world, right?
Right,
So it's
right.
kind of being implanted into us. But so that's kind of what I actually work with. I work with women that it's like we need to take back our position in this world because we are, we're not washed up. We are not,
Mm-hmm,
in fact, we have a lot more to offer because we have experience behind us and
mm-hmm.
empathy behind us. And
Sure. Well, as the host of this podcast, it's all about making every second count. I am 1,000% behind you. This is no, it's great. It's great.
thank you.
I had no idea this was going to be the content of our conversation, and I'm like, okay, sure, let's run with it. I love it. Okay, so it's another selfie. It's an overcast day, I'd say, but you're wearing a nice. What are those hats called? It's not. It's what are those hats
Oh,
called?
yeah, it's like woven kind of. I don't even know what they're called.
Almost, it's almost like a fedora thing or
Yeah.
whatever. You're you're looking into the camera, big bright smile. I mean, you've got the big bright smile, 1,000% down. Like you know how to do that just fine. Is it Canada? It could be. Yeah, it looks quite deciduous in the background. It could be BC. Take us into that day. So it's basically a self portrait of you with the hat. So go ahead.
Okay. So that day actually was about a year after I had my implants out, and it was a celebrating women who are 50 and over, and it was a
Hmm.
photo shoot. And so
Oh,
that was what I was
nice.
wearing for one of the photo shoots, and I did a selfie because I was feeling so good. I was feeling in my element, and the hat does have a little bit of significance. So I have never worn a hat in my life. I've never been a hat girl. But I've
Hmm.
always wanted to. I've always
Okay.
wanted to be one of those girls that can just wear a hat, right? So,
Baby, you're 50. You can totally wear a hat.
right.
Come on. Of course you can.
That's what I did. That's what I did. I thought,
Yeah.
what? One of my photo shoots is going to be me and a hat. And I put the hat on and I thought, I love how I feel. And again, it was another sort of expressive moment that was like, you can literally change your identity and who you are every minute of the day, right? I think that's
Hmm.
something that people they fail to realize. It's kind of like changing your opinion. One day you can be a vegan, the next day you can be a carnivore, and people say, "Well, we were
Hmm.
just a vegan." It's like, but I changed my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. I changed my mind. People don't realize they can
Sure.
actually change their mind whenever they want based on a new set of information or personal growth, right? So we're so
Hmm.
stuck in these labels, so stuck in labels, right? So I'm really an advocate of change your mind whenever you want, as long as you're not
Nice.
hurting somebody else, but obviously, so that's
Sure. As an infuriating habit to others around me, I like to say that I always reserve the right to contradict myself.
love it,
It's like,
love it.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay, which is like changing your mind. It's like, well, we want consistency. Well, sorry, I'm not that guy. So you mentioned that you've done coaching. So it's really interesting to me because the work that I've done, which is in something called service leadership, has been about how people feel the most fulfilled and are at their best in a network, in a group of others. So that's very sort of socially constructed, other constructed. And one of the things that I'm hearing from you is you're both really impacted by group perception, right? Of like how you are seen within the group, but you're also a service provider. Like you're also giving service to others. So why don't you talk about how that manifests in your work or coaching or anything you like?
Okay, I have to think about this one. I think how
That's
this,
good.
yeah, you made me
Feel
think.
free to contradict yourself. There's no rules.
Exactly. Well, what I would have to, off the top of my head, the first thing I thought was when it comes to the coaching that I do. So again, I'm a 50s fulfillment coach, which is basically just helping women feel fulfilled in their lives again in a variety of areas, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think probably how that shows up in my coaching is that women, especially before they go through the midlife kind of changes, we are a certain person. And after those changes happen, and that includes kids leaving the house, retiring, there's all sorts of different changes that tend to happen in that sort of midlife, not only physically, but a lot of other areas as
Mm-hmm.
well. And for example, let's use the mom situation. So children, when you're a mother, you're a mother. That's who you are. You're a mother. And then your children move across the world and they're not in your home anymore. You're still called a mom, but you don't have any mothering duties anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is kind of our belief of who we are. We're a mother. And within our social group, it's like, oh yeah, she's one of the moms, right?
Okay.
But
Right.
now she doesn't have any children to mother anymore, right? Like they're gone, right? They're out of the nest. And so who is she? Who is she?
Mm-hmm.
So now she has to really dig deep within, get rid of what, society has labeled you as. And that could be I'm a teacher. I'm a math teacher. Now you're retired. Now what are you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I am a mother. Well, children are gone. You're still a mother, but you're not mothering. So what do you do now? What's your label? Sports, whatever it is, right? Um, I'm a childbearing years, now I'm not, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now what am I, right? So, and so much of that is caught up in our purpose. It gives us our purpose, our identity. And so I really try and help women to kind of focus back in on themselves and say, okay, like that was just the label that you gave yourself, but really, who are you? Who
Mm.
are you? And let's really dig deep into that and let's discover what are your likes and your dislikes and where are your insecurities and your strengths and how can we bring those all to a healthy place so that now you feel purposeful, driven, happy, and most importantly, loving yourself. Because a lot of women lose themselves. They don't realize that they don't actually love who they are while they're focused on their career or while they're mothering their children to adulthood. And then they pop out the other side and they're like, I don't really like anything about myself right now. I don't like the shape I'm
Mm-hmm.
in. I don't like how I feel. I have no direction now. What do I do? So that's kind of how the two line up. I
Yeah.
don't know if that answered your question properly, but
Uh, I don't really ask questions. What I do is I talk for a while and then I kind of raise my voice. And then the person goes, I think you're asking this, maybe?
there you go.
Don't worry about it. What you're taking me to school and I love it. So I don't know. So as you're explaining stuff, I was sort of thinking to myself about how when Obama was in his last sort of months in office, there was an article about how he had no more fucks to give. It's like he had so many. He was worrying about so many things, blah blah blah. And at this point, at this stage, he's like, you know what? I have no more fucks to give. And in a way, I identify as a feminist. Just the household that I was brought up in and the values that I have, and so I've always been aware of the fact that once once women kind of out get beyond the sort of the motherhood or mothering phase or stage, sometimes as they through perimenopause, through menopause, they hit this stage of I have no more fucks to give, and in a way that's liberating.
Very.
So if there's a question, I have no idea. But imagine there's a question. How do you chime into that?
Oh gosh, it's so funny because I talk to my girlfriends, and we're all, the majority of my girlfriends are around my age, but I also have like one of my very best friends is 26 years old. So she's like a younger version of me, except far more intelligent and directed, and I'm learning from her constantly. But what we've all talked about is that exactly is that little age where all of a sudden you're like, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what people think about me. I don't give a shit if people don't like what I'm wearing. And you know what? I cannot say what it is. I think that somehow just through the hormone shift is that we just realize on some biological level that life is coming to an end, right? It's like, okay, we're halfway
Mm-hmm.
here. There's a certain part of us that can no longer be, and we have to transition into this new portion. And I don't have the time or the patience to care if you don't like the cellulite on my legs, because that's just the way it is, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but on the same hand, women still struggle within themselves about their own self. So the two are very separate. Women are really good at separating. It's like, I don't give a shit what you think, but I look in the mirror and man, I really care what I think, and I hate myself, and I don't like this and I don't like
Mm.
that. And so it's really polar. It's really polar. Um, but back to, I want to just comment on what you said about feminist, that you're a feminist,
No
right?
comments. No comments. I'm just joking. I'm just going. Of course. Of course. Of course.
So, because this is a discussion that I've had, and I have a few triggering blogs on my blog, a few posts on my blog that can definitely trigger some people. And that's the whole point, right? I want to get people thinking. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never been a fan of labels. And I think we are a society that is just label driven. I mean, I am this, I am that. It's just like, you know what? We're just human. Like, that's probably the only label that we should be giving ourselves. And I also believe that while the feminist movement has taken shape over the hundreds of years, because it didn't just start in the 60s. It started many
Mm-hmm.
decades and centuries before that, right? Well, I think equal rights for both genders, or however many genders there is is paramount. Absolutely
Mm-hmm.
paramount. I mean, everybody should have equal human rights. It's human rights.
Yep.
But I do believe that the feminist movement took away a lot for women as well.
Okay.
Because I am a little bit traditional in my thinking, that I believe that, men cannot do everything women can do, and women cannot do everything men can do, right? And I think biologically we are set up to have or to thrive within certain roles. Now, once again, in our modern society, two people have to work to, live in a city like Vancouver, Canada. And
Mm-hmm.
so that changes the environment within the home. Now the men are doing the laundry and the women are, changing the car tires and all this kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily think that that was a really good move on society's part.
Okay.
Again, I believe in equal rights. Women should, men shouldn't be above and below, and women and all of that. But I think some of our femininity and some of our caring and nurturing has been lost because we've been forced into a more masculine role. And I think
Mm.
men are also confused because now when they want to show up as who they really are, like a man, it's like you're a protector, you're a provider, you're going to fight off the
Mm-hmm.
lions of the cave. Some women are very pro feminism, and they get offended if you open a door, or offended if you say, "Can I carry your bag?" or "I want to pay for your dinner." I mean, and to me, I think that has caused damage within the social relationships between men and women, and within the home too. So feminism was great, but parts of it not so much.
Well, just to go back to what you're saying, and I understand this is very thin ice. And look, I haven't been in
Mhm.
Canada for 2 decades, so I miss a whole bunch of the social turmoil that's happened. So coming back and looking at it, I'm kind of confused. I'm like, okay, that's kind of strange. Okay, yeah. I mean, I just ultimately, I think what you had said about, well, it's we put so many labels on things and everything, and in a way that is a very human thing, right? Like how, like right now we can only talk to each other because we've labeled things, and so what we're doing is we're exchanging labels and hopefully getting to some kind of shared understanding that's up in the air somewhere, where I understand what you mean, you understand what I think, and we can just get along and be friends.
Yeah. Yay. That'd be great.
Should we move on to the next photo?
Yeah, you got it. Absolutely.
Okay, so now it's another selfie.
They
Um,
probably all are.
you're clearly what?
So they probably all are selfies. Yeah.
Okay, okay. You're talking to a person who did a photo. Actually, shooting it raw
I
is the
saw your video.
result.
I saw
Oh,
that. Amazing.
ah, so 350 selfies.
Yes, it's crazy. It's really good. Really good.
So okay, enough about me. Okay, so in this photo, so it's summertime, I guess, unless it's cold in your house and you like to wear tank tops, I guess. So your hair is down. You're looking at the camera. Nice, bright. Sm- this is what's really great about. Okay, so I was in Asia. I was in Hong Kong, and the cultural norms over there are most women wear a lot of makeup. And one of the things about Canada that's great is that a lot of women here. I mean, there are some women who put on makeup, blah, 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 but it's not like a. Maybe the last photo is going to be you all in makeup, but you just look like it's that clean Canadian look. So I don't know if it just happens to be before you do the makeup, but anyways, so you look great. The lights, you're inside a house. It's overcast light coming in from a window, probably. You're holding a camera. You're look. It's still you smiling brightly, looking at the camera. So what's the significance of this photo?
Okay, so the significance of that photo is that is my favorite dress. It's pink, right? It's pink and it's got
Nice.
some flowers on it. And I was actually going on a date with my brother.
Okay.
Yeah, my brother was in town visiting, so I was meeting him for dinner, and I was just so elated that I was actually going to be able to spend some really quality time with him and just feeling sort of,
Nice.
connected and empowered and just like, wow, we've reached this stage in our life where I can meet with my brother, who's 2 years younger than me, and have
Okay.
like a nice dinner and an adult relationship. And so that's when I took that picture. I just felt really great. And that dress is actually, it's not tight, it's very flowy, so there's, no curves or anything. And but to me,
Hmm.
it just signifies like femininity. And
Comfort,
yeah,
I
exactly,
imagine.
exactly. Yeah, comfort without looking frumpy. Yeah, and I don't wear a lot of makeup at all, so that's me. You know, as you can see, I'm the same.
It's doing really good for you. You're looking fabulous. Um, the sort of the analyst or curator or whatever in me is going to be like, okay, well, what does this mean then? So how does this reflect your work?
I guess in a couple of ways. So a little bit of a thing about that dress. I've had some partners in the past that have said, "Oh, that dress just does nothing for you because it doesn't show anything, right? It's not figure flattering." Yeah. So I think that with respect to reflection of my work, is that I'm teaching my women, that midlife area. It's like you need to show up for you. You're not showing up for anybody else. And that's where women get hung up, especially when we're younger, right? It's like we're showing up for other people, right? That's why I got my implants. Sure, I wanted boobs, but we really take away all of it. If I was just on a desert island, would I have wanted them? Would I have needed them? No, but I felt like I needed to have them in order for me to show up in a certain way so that I would get a certain attention or be valued or whatever it is, all those things that you think when you're younger. So that is what I am coaching women through is that, you need to show up for you, but don't let society's expectations or what the media tells you should show up as be your guiding light. Your guiding light in showing up for you is when you go and you sit on a beach at Tofino, or any other of these gorgeous places that we have that are fairly remote here in Canada, and you sit there by yourself. It's like, are you content? You know, how are you showing up for you in that moment? Well, that's how you should be showing up all the time. And so
Hmm.
that's kind of what that dress also in that picture is signifying. It's like, you know what? I'm wearing this for me. I
Hmm.
feel good in it, not in anybody else's.
So here's one thing I just realized, or just an epiphany of what. Okay, so coming back to Canada, I grew up in Montreal, East Coast. So I have two kind of questions then. Is the breast implant thing, if we think about it as a not because there are waves of interest in fashion, right? So is or was the breast implant a kind of a movement, an aesthetic movement of women? Because on the East Coast, I don't really remember that being as much of a thing. But in the West Coast, was it much more of a thing? I don't know. Like,
You know
tell
what?
me.
Yeah, and I can't speak to the East Coast, but what I do know about the East Coast is that the East Coast is very fashion oriented, like material clothing, right? Because you get a lot of
Mm-hmm.
your influence from Europe, and that trickles its way across Canada, and everybody ends up in Lululemon sweatpants, right? So you know, so it doesn't really actually get here. It gets hung up on the Rocky Mountains, and then that's where the fashion stays. So, but I can absolutely agree with the point that what I have seen, especially throughout my lifetime, is that women's bodies are the fashion statement, which
Mm-hmm.
is so sickening and sad to me because I walk around or even I go to the gym and not only is there the breast implants, but they're not just to make your body look more proportioned so you can be that perfect, like whatever it is, 36, 26, 36. That was, back in the day, the Barbie doll era, right? But women have got the snuffleupagus eyelashes. They
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
the fish lips, the really big fish
Well,
lips. And
so I have to interrupt because that to me is blowing my mind. Because
mhm,
the second question I was going to ask you was, okay, so have breast implants in a sense been recognized and sort of pushed aside, whereas now it's all in the lips and piercings and tattoos and everything of people wanting to modify out of some kind of disquiet of like, I just don't like, kind of, I'm just not, I could be better. I could be better.
yeah.
So we talk about the lips, talk about the tattooing, talk about like, but how that's from your perspective, like how, what goes into that core that drives a person and motivates a person to say, well, I want to make a change.
So this is a topic and an area that gets a lot of heat from a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
sorry.
oh yeah, well, you know what? And I don't apologize. Like you said, I'm at the I don't give a fuck stage. So
Yeah.
it's like if anybody
And
wants
I'm
to
just being
attack me,
Canadian.
yeah,
I'm
there
just
you
being
go.
Canadian by saying sorry.
Sorry. Right, exactly. Sorry, I don't give a shit. um, so I think oh gosh, that it's such a huge, it's a landmine, that topic, because okay, let's use the tattoo thing for an example. I saw a
Okay.
TikTok a few weeks back, and there's this big dude on there. He's got tattoos all over his body. I mean, visible, neck, everything, right? And then he
Yeah.
says, in one of these little, where you can read the captions, and he says, when people are staring at my tattoo, then he leans on over and says, oh, right? It's like, well, why do you have tattoos on your face and your arm or everywhere? Like, are you doing them for you? Because I'm sure you cannot see the one that's on the back of your head, right?
Yeah.
So you're not actually doing it for you. You think you're doing
Sure.
it for you, but you're not. It's signifying some sort of identity for you that the rest of the world can now see. Now, if you truly did a tattoo for yourself, it would be on a part that nobody else could see except when you were naked. And unless you
Mm,
lived in a nudist camp, you know what? Then okay, you're just doing it for yourself. Um,
mm.
so and again, back to the fish lips and the snuffleupagus and stuff. And I know a lot of women are, like they don't like it when they hear these things. It's like, well, I should be able to. It's like, yeah, you can do whatever you want,
Sure.
but I really want you to think about why you're doing it. Like, what gave you the reason, or the lack of self identity to think that you aren't born perfect the way you are? And and I have to go back to what you're talking about, the fashion industry, the movie industry, the cosmetic industry, all of that, the diet industry, they have told us what the perfect body and face and hair and what all of that should look like. And
Mm,
so all the women and the men now too, I mean, there's so many men that are getting implants and like, bicep implants and suction this and oh, it's horrific, right? Because when it comes down to it, it's about self-worth.
yep.
It's all self-worth, right? If you feel like your lips on your face aren't big enough and you're having low self-worth because of that, or you're getting them because you think you're going to increase your self-worth once you get them, just like I thought when I had my breast implants. But here's what I can tell you. And women who are not self-aware or have not done the self-development part, they will fight this statement 100% of the time. But those
Sure.
of us who have done it will understand. So when you get that adjustment, when you put those fake lips on, when you puff them up or get your implants or whatever, you are still the same person inside. You can only change the outside, but your brain and your
Hmm.
mindset and how you self-love is the same. You are
Yep.
still this insecure person that you were before them. The only thing that is different is the visual part. That's it. And I can speak to full experience on that because when I had my implants, while I walked around feeling confident in my own home by myself, I still had the same stories. I still had the eating
Sure.
disorders. I still had this. I still didn't feel good enough. It's like, okay, well, now I got the boobs, but now I need to make my butt smaller, and now I need to get rid
Sure.
of this, and right? So it just perpetuates itself, and that is the sickness of the modern day now, because it's like you start doing this one thing. It's like really wealthy people who've never stepped foot in a forest.
Mm,
They're constantly looking for the next purchase to make them feel, yeah, that is going to make me unbelievably happy.
sure.
That's going to be the thing. But it never is the thing
Right. Right.
because it
Right.
can't come from outside yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like I, as a empathic sort of person, I'm always asking myself, well, if I put myself in that person's shoes, so being human, it's hard for people to just live with the status quo, because, for example, if we eat the same dessert, after a while, the sweetness starts to fade or something. You kind of go, oh, I wonder if I want something else, because like our brains chemically are always kind of going like the sort of the hit kind of decays. So we think, oh, and so in the maybe look, I don't know, maybe for example, changing your physiology with the eyelashes and the puffy lips. And I was thinking maybe I should get a butt crack in my forehead. I wonder how that would look. Why are you laughing? That's not very nice. You're laughing at me.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that'd be
No, but
great.
no.
Oh, that'd be so good. That'd be so good.
But what I mean to say is, maybe all of that is kind of like putting on a suit or putting on a nice dress, because internally you're like, okay, well, this is making me feel something different, and we can't expect a 25-year-old to have the same presence of mind as a 35-year-old, to have the same presence of mind as a 50-year-old. And maybe the only reason you got to where you are now is because you lived through all of that crap. I don't know. I don't know.
It's true. There's a couple of good points there. See if I can remember the first
But the
one.
butt crack being the biggest
Yeah, that's
one.
good. Do it. Let's see. Um, okay, a couple of things. So if doing stuff to your physical being is a way for you to feel better or to like you said, it's like something new, it's something exciting, all that kind of stuff. If that wasn't harmful to people's bodies, which all alterations are, the minute you make a cut into your skin or you inject or
Mm,
something, it's never the same again. And you don't know the repercussions down the road, right? So unfortunately, so many of these things are physically harmful, but we just don't realize it until it's too late or there is a side
yeah.
effect or whatever, right? And it's also not long lasting because what's like just like you said, it's like, okay, well now I'm bored of that and now I need something new. And
Right. Right.
if it was just a matter of like changing the color of your clothes or I'm going to wear a hat or not wear a hat, right? That's one thing. But when we start altering our body, I think that is a psychological problem. And then that takes me back to the second point is that while I agree that in this modern day society, that I would not have been, who I am today had I not gone through all those things. But all those things are, quite frankly, fucked up, right? You
Mm-hmm.
take a look at, the centuries
You know, there's
past. I
a
mean,
children's. You know, there's a children's podcast.
yeah. Oh no.
It's fucked up. It's so fucked up. I agree.
Yeah.
Agree. I agree with you.
Right?
Yeah.
But I guess that goes back to when we're children. I think all of this mess that we've created in our society with this unfulfillment and people are sad and lonely and questioning their self-worth and who they are and their purpose goes back to how have we been raised? What values have been instilled with us? I have a few select friends that their kids have grown up to be the most amazing, never touched a drop of alcohol. Not, I have
Mm-hmm.
alcohol sometimes, but they're just so solid in their belief about themselves and their wants, and they don't have body image issues and that. But what I see the difference between how they were raised and how other people had been raised is that their self-worth was driven into them as a child. They were
Mm,
surrounded by love and not this coddling kind of thing and entitlement that
sure.
we see so often now, right? But it's like really they were self-developed as children to know their worth and that they're perfect as they are, and now they are fully functioning perfect adults,
Yep.
that believe in that. So I think that's where the problem lies, is that
Okay.
we're being raised by TV and magazines and the internet and Instagram and TikTok, and that messes with your head. If it can mess
I
with an
agree.
adult's head, what is it doing to a 6 or 10 year old, right?
Sure. No, I agree. Ooh. Okay. Good morning. I love it. Now, this is another self portrait. You're wearing a one of those down sort of jackets, Eddie Bauer. It says blue, a dark blue. You're standing on this really beautiful pebbled, exposed beach. The sky is so like dramatic. Cloud. It could be. Is there lightning and thunder in BC?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, okay. So you're standing. It looks like it could be fall. You've got your sunglasses. It's a great self portrait. Like it's the light's really nice. There you go with your nice, beautiful face. Take it away. Why is this photo important?
That's important because I was in a really dark place. So that would have
Ah,
been,
okay. Totally did not read that. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. That was last fall. The way the state of the world has been the last couple of years through 20, 21,
Mm.
22 here for the world has been a challenge and a half to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just walking on Spanish Banks, which is down here in Vancouver, and I took a portrait of myself because I was practicing some mindset, um, I guess, rituals, or really focusing on how am I going to dig myself out of this hole. And I wanted to
Oh
capture
wow.
that moment because it was a really dark time for me. It's the first time
Oh,
that I'd actually ever experienced depression, like real depression, where it was really hard to get out of bed. So that was one of the days I got out of bed, and I thought I need to capture this moment because I feel good, but it's in such a dark place and time in my life, and
mm.
just has a lot of emotion behind it.
I can see that emotion on your face now.
Mm.
As you said, you shouldn't play poker because you telegraph your
You
feelings.
know, it's terrible.
Uh, unfortunately, I totally misread the photo. I mean, the sky. It was all in the sky. I should have known the
Mm.
sky. Okay, I don't mean to funnel you back into that place of darkness, but this
Mm,
is you
go ahead.
crawling out of that hole, right?
Yes.
This is you. So this is you clawing out of it, and Haruki Murakami. He wrote a book called Wind Up Bird Chronicles, and the main character at one point he just kind of goes and w- spends a while at the bottom of a well, and just all he sees is like the circle of sky above, and that's his whole perception. I deal with general anxiety disorder, and so if you've lived a little bit, you're probably going to have mental health scars or issues or whatever. So this is you crawling out of that hole, yeah?
That's a good day. Yeah, yeah, that's me crawling out of that hole. So that was a good day, um, because I was feeling like there must be light at the end of the tunnel. That I
Mm-hmm.
was finally getting to a place where, okay, I can see some light. And when you're in really bad depression, not suicidal thoughts, but just if I got hit by a bus, it would be okay right now. I don't gotta go kill
Mm-hmm.
myself, but if the building falls down, then let's so be it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I'd never felt those feelings before. So when I had gone for that walk on the beach, it was like, wow, like here I am. It's like it was just a split moment in time where I felt, okay, now I can see the beauty once again, right? Even though it was
Mm-hmm.
a dark and gloomy day, but inside me, that light just kind of came to the surface once again, and it gave
Right.
me just pause to reflect. And
Um, how does that inform your practice of coaching, other people, other women who are going through their own? I mean, maybe they reach you. Like, do people reach you as they're crawling out of their hole? Do they reach for you as they're in that pit? Like, how does this inform your practice?
women usually reach out to me when they're in it, right? So
Oh,
they're
okay.
they're going through something that they just can't see their way out of. And typically, it's this midlife transition where all of our emotions just come crashing down on us in a variety of areas. So that's when people reach out to me. They're like, I've been trying this and it's not working, or how do you stay so positive, or what did you do to, overcome this kind of situation, or your body, or whatever it is. And so I like to think of myself as having had a ton or a shitload of experience, life experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything from physical and mental abusive relationships to illness and so on and so forth. So I have a lot to draw upon, and it's really just getting them to see their worth. When it comes down to it, all of it is about self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
Like either accepting where your body is at right now and still loving it. You can improve upon it, but still love yourself where you're at.
Mm-hmm. How does this sentence feel? Where you observe yourself without judgment.
Ooh,
Take
that
it away.
that's I constantly am practicing that. That ultimately is where it's at. That sentence right there, that's where it's at. That is the path towards healing. That's the path towards self-awareness, like true self-awareness. So, I often like to say, like, if you're getting triggered by something, sit in those emotions. Don't like run to the fridge. Don't freak out. Don't call somebody and talk about it. Sit in those emotions, because then you learn a lot about yourself. And if you just take time to breathe, you start to see the clarity of that situation, the clarity of those emotions. And with that comes a whole ton of knowledge. And that now, okay, so this is really what that was about. And so you
Mm-hmm.
can move in whatever direction serves you.
Right. Okay. So in the world of service leadership, we talk about how within a network, within a group, a leader isn't somebody who top down command and controls. A leader is somebody who attracts people. And so we make it to the top of Grouse, sweaty, hot, crazy. There are hundreds of people around us, and for whatever reason, like there was this um, radiating energy from you that I picked up on, and I was just like, okay, here's somebody who's very clear. Like you really projected this sort of feeling of, or this state. Yeah, so if somebody finds this attractive in terms of is attracted to your philosophy or practice, there's the blog. But how do you serve clients? Do you serve them remotely? How do you?
Yeah, I do most of my stuff either on the phone or on Zoom, and I do have coaching packages that are on my blog. So it's under the work with me tab, so they can
Okay,
click
right,
there.
right, right. So spell out the blog again.
It's MonikADiane.com. So MonikaDiane.com. Yeah, and usually what I recommend is that, you want to get a feel for your coach, right? Whoever's going to be, getting personal with you, right? So I have a 30-minute, $20, one-off coaching session that I do with clients so that we can get a feel for each other. And
Mm-hmm.
and then if they choose to work with me, they can take that $20 off of any other package that they want to purchase. So I just feel it's really good that committing to somebody who you don't really know, and you need to have that mutual energy, right? Like I have said no to some clients because like
Sure.
they're in a different space and I'm not the best person for them. So I usually refer them to another coach.
Monika Diane. Look, you see the hour goes so
Oops, there it
fast.
is.
You know, this is great. Like, any last bits of wisdom you'd like to share with the world? I believe. Yeah, no, this is great.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, Rand. Wow, like I just have to tell the audience that, part of my smiley face is I really wanted your table at the top of Grouse Mountain. So I'm honing in on that table.
You see, it's always self interest. Here I was all like the nobleness of whatever. You're just like shit. I want that table.
I'm just joking. I only took one chair, everybody.
I love it. I love it. Oh, this is awesome. This is great. Yeah, look, I want people to learn all about your work. You're doing good work, and yeah, like
Thank
for
you.
sure. And no more shits to give, no more fucks to give. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ran. I appreciate it very much. It's been a pleasure.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.